Danica Patrick became the most well-known female racer in history. However, something had broken by 2017. She continued to drop finishes. She was ejected by her squad. Additionally, all she had constructed was destroyed in crashes and engine issues during her final 2 races. She was referred to be a pioneer. She was overhyped from the beginning, according to some. Beneath 312 Cup starts and years of unspoken pressure, the truth was somewhere in the center. What actually took place in the background as her career fell apart? And why did the lady who transformed racing feel so worn out and shaken as she left? The tale of Danica Patrick starts on March 25, 1982, when she moved to Bow, Wisconsin, and entered a world where motors were constantly buzzing in the background. Long before she ever wore a helmet, her parents, T.J. Patrick Jr. and Beverly Ann, were active in the motorsports industry. Her mother was a mechanic and even participated in snowmobile races, while her father raced cars and motocross. Every wrench, tire, and oil stain taught Danica something, and their garage felt like a second home. Racing remained at the core of their identity, even as they eventually operated a coffee shop and a glass firm to make ends meet. Her early years were characterized by that rhythm, which she gradually internalized until speed came naturally to her. Her tale felt broad and multifaceted because she was raised in Roscoe, Illinois, on the other side of the border, and had a mix of Norwegian, Irish, French, Canadian, Italian, and Native American ancestry. She shared that competitive spirit with her younger sister, Brooke, and the two of them created a makeshift snowmobile track in their backyard. The backyard quickly felt like an early training field as their parents joined in. She gradually developed her intuition and learned how to perceive a machine in motion during those enjoyable racing evenings. Conversations about engines, strategy, and weekend races filled the house. And she remained astute and inquisitive because of that intensity. Her cosmopolitan upbringing and familial closeness enabled her to make connections with people outside of her community as she grew older. Her parents used a lawnmower engine to build her first go-kart when she turned 10. It was quick enough to get everything going, but it wasn't elegant. By the mid-1990s, she had qualified for the World Karting Association Grand National Championship and had won her class 3 times. Even on chilly days when her hands ached from holding the wheel, she persisted in practice, which is how she won. Her reputation in the community grew with each race. It also demonstrated that she had something that could take her far despite having basic gear and no major sponsor. She gained self-assurance and motivation during those years. She also knew that driving was what gave her a sense of purpose by the time she reached her teens. Then came the time when she had to decide between living the life she had always dreamed of and living a normal existence. In order to pursue a career in racing, she dropped out of high school during her junior year in 1998 at the age of 16, obtained her GED, and traveled alone to Milton Keynes, England. She suddenly found herself in rooms with individuals that defined Formula racing when Jackie Stewart opened a few doors for her. She even met Jenson Button and other future Formula One stars. For a girl who had grown up near small-town karting tracks and snowmobiles, it was a big leap. She was challenged by England. Living distant from home required her to pick up new driving techniques, new courses, and new traditions. But she gained something from every setback, and she became a more confident competitor. That bravery was put to the test when she lost sponsor backing due to reports that she led an opulent lifestyle. The rumors, whether true or not, were quite hurtful to her because she had been living in an apartment backed by Ford. Even though it was a significant financial burden for a working-class household, her father covered all of her racing costs for a whole year out of his own cash. Everyone in the household was put to the test at that time. But it also demonstrated the lengths they would go to in order to win her. Even though her bank account didn't expand, her resolve did. She eventually got sponsor support again and continued on her route, but she saw the hard way how vulnerable a profession can be when funding vanishes. The Formula Vauxhall Winter Series in 1998 marked the beginning of her European racing career. At the age of 16, she entered a world where men drivers with greater resources predominated. With 31 points, she placed 9th overall in the British Formula Vauxhall Championship in 1999. For someone her age, it was significant because she was competing against more experienced drivers who had superior gear. She grew tougher with each race. She then started racing for the British Formula Ford Championship with Andy Welch in 2000. She was third in the points standings after competing in 14 events. She achieved the greatest result for an American since 1972 when she placed second at the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch. Her name began to resound in more paddocks and garages. By then, it was evident that she had the ability to succeed even in the absence of flawless vehicles or support. She was severely affected by the 2001 season. Because her equipment wasn't competitive and she didn't get the backing she required, she battled in the British Formula Ford Championship and finished 25th with 10 points. She was inspired to think more broadly by her frustration. She persuaded her father to allow her to return to the United States. She joined the Rahal team for the Barber Dodge Pro Series in 2002. With 35 points, she placed 13th in her 5 races. She was able to work with stronger teams and set greater goals after making the pivotal move from Europe to America. She entered the American Le Mans Series GTS class in 2003 and placed 23rd in the ProDrive racing season. With 109 points from 12 races, she placed 6th in the Toyota Atlantic Championship as well. She was demonstrating at the age of 21 that she could go from sports cars to open-wheel racing without sacrificing speed. Because she could comprehend any machine that was given to her, her ability to adapt became one of her strongest qualities. She achieved yet another high point in the Toyota Atlantic Championship by 2004. With 1 pole position and 1 fastest lap, she finished third in 12 races with 269 points. Because of her performance, she was given a place in the IndyCar with Rahal Letterman. She also silenced those who were muttering about favoritism by demonstrating her belonging. From karting to European Formulae and finally to IndyCar, her story demonstrated that she never gave up, no matter how difficult the road. Then came 2005, which brought fame and anxiety. She ended the season in 12th place with 325 points while driving Rahal Letterman Racing's car number 16 in 17 races. However, she became quite unwell following the race in Japan due to poisonous exhaust fumes. She had to skip the next race due to respiratory issues brought on by the fumes, which led her to the hospital. As the first woman in the modern age to qualify for the Indianapolis 500, she had already garnered media attention. However, this event exposed the risks that lurked behind racing's glitz. It demonstrated that dangers weren't always obvious. The Indianapolis 500 turned out to be the race that altered everything in that same year. She led for a total of 19 laps, from lap 56 to lap 74 and again from lap 172 to 185. She won Rookie of the Year for finishing in 4th position, which was the best ever for a woman. She nearly crashed following a spin that could have finished her race on the first lap, which is what made it so memorable. She pushed her way back to the front after fighting her way through the mayhem and regaining control. When she reached her qualifying speed of 227.04 miles per hour, audiences worldwide noticed a change in motorsports as they realized she wasn't simply setting history but also vying for victory. She finished 10th with 302 points in 13 independent car races in 2006. She also participated in a Daytona prototype for the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona that year alongside Jan Lamers, Alan McNish, and Rusty Wallace. They were competitors until they were eliminated due to mechanical issues. However, she demonstrated her versatility once more. Despite obstacles, she continued to demonstrate that she was capable of handling any racing task. She reached a new height during her 2007 season with Andretti Green Racing. She participated in 17 races, came very close to winning her first race, and ended 7th with 424 points. She became the first female IndyCar driver to finish second at the Detroit Indy Grand Prix after leading 9 laps. Despite the tension and crashes throughout the race, she maintained her composure and made good use of every chance. People remembered that event because it demonstrated the amount of pressure she could bear without cracking. Then, in 2008, she experienced the turning point in her career. She won the Indy Japan 300 on April 20th. At Twin Ring MGI, she held off Helio Castrans and Scott Dixon while leading the last 25 laps. Because she conserved gasoline early in the race and moved when it mattered, her strategy was brilliant. She realized how much it meant, so she started crying as soon as she crossed the finish line. It still stands alone today as the first and only IndyCar victory by a woman. Her triumph created a stir in the racing community and elevated her to the status of a symbol of the power of perseverance. Danica Patrick's ascent in 2008 started with a level of concentration that saw her through every stage of every song. With 379 points from 17 races, she placed 6th overall that season. Additionally, people paid a little more attention to her driving style. Everything changed at the Indy Japan 300 on April 20, 2008. After other drivers pulled over for fuel, she took the lead for the last 3 laps. She also became the first and only female winner of an IndyCar Series event in those last moments. It was so big that it felt enormous. The president of the Indy Racing League also claimed that the influence was little despite detractors' attempts to downplay it by claiming that her reduced weight provided her an edge. Her season spoke for itself, so the noise didn't really matter. Strong runs at Homestead in St. Petersburg, 5 top 5 finishes, and a feeling that she had achieved something no woman had ever done before. There was a change at Iowa Speedway the following year. In the Iowa Corn Indy 250, she came in 3rd. Rather than rejoicing in the moment, there were whispering in the garage. She was favored by Andretti Green Racing, according to her teammates. They said that because she was the advertiser's favorite face, she received better setups and additional assistance. She placed 5th overall with 393 points during the season, but she was unable to shake the feeling that her success was due to favoritism rather than skill because of the hostility that permeated team radios and interviews. Her finest accomplishments were 3rd-place finishes in Iowa and Kentucky. However, the conversation around her continued unabated. Whether she was fast was not the question. It boiled down to whether she was permitted to be quick for non-racing related reasons. Her 2009 Rolex 24-hour Daytona then showed up with a different weight. She joined Childress Howard Motorsports' No. 2 Daytona prototype, and the anticipation surrounding her debut only heightened the sadness when the vehicle repeatedly broke down. They finished after just 143 laps, were ranked 46th, and were given a DNF. She had finished 9th in 2007, and now she was getting out of a car that never had a chance, which hurt. She was reminded that day of the harshness of endurance racing and how easily things may go wrong. She demonstrated that she still had speed during the 2010 IndyCar season. With 367 points, she placed 10th overall, although the results from Homestead in Texas were more convincing. She persevered at Texas, leading 22 laps before finishing 2nd to Scott Dixon. She placed 2nd once more, behind Ryan Briscoe, at Homestead. Her career included those 2 races. 7 top 3 finishes in all. Despite not winning in 2010, her consistent performance demonstrated that she could still hold the top spot. Even still, something felt off because folks could see that she was already focusing on NASCAR. Then 2011 arrived. She faced a combination of tragedy, change, and fresh strain as that year came to an end. After 16 races and 314 points, she placed 10th overall. However, the final race of the season in Las Vegas altered the mood. Dan Weldon lost his life in a huge collision involving 15 cars that halted the event early. Everything following the crash felt muted because she had been running mid-pack at the time. Later on, she talked about how hard that impacted her. She entered the NASCAR Nationwide Series that year and placed 26th in her debut race at Kansas. Critics said she would be crushed by the change. They thought she didn't yet have the intuition needed for stock cars. Her 2011 season, which was marked by both sadness and the beginning of a world she didn't completely comprehend, turned into a pivotal moment in her life. As her breakup with Andretti Green Racing became apparent, the pressure behind her decision increased. She made a decision that she knew would anger others due to contract difficulties, dissatisfaction, and her attraction to NASCAR. Analysts and team owners predicted that she would encounter an obstacle she was unable to overcome. She would never be able to catch up to drivers who were raised in the culture of stock cars, according to some. Nevertheless, she signed. It was audacious. It demonstrated that she wasn't scared to leave a location that had once defined her, even though it was risky. Her NASCAR career started earlier than most people realize. She raced 13 events in the No. 7 Chevrolet when she joined JR Motorsports in the Nationwide Series in 2010. She crashed on lap 15 of her Daytona debut on February 13. She received 58 points and placed 35th. She finished 19th at Homestead, which was her best result that season. She crashed out in 4 of her first 5 starts and ended 43rd overall with 132 points. She was on the lead lap for just 3 races. She also attempted K&N East and ARCA, placing 45th and 85th, respectively. Because of who she was, every mistake she made headlines, and the learning curve felt high. Her vivid green GoDaddy car became one of the most photographed vehicles in NASCAR, but her presence still dominated media coverage. She participated in 12 national events in 2011 and finished 26th overall with 3D21. Her best results were 12th in Phoenix and 14th at Daytona. The fact that she accomplished all of this while maintaining a full 17-race independent car calendar astounded many people. That was not done by a newbie. The brutality of the grind was evident in her performance. In NASCAR, she finished in about 28th place on average. Due to scheduling issues, she even missed important races at Dover, Pocono, and Darlington. However, she beat Sarah Christian's 62-year-old record for the highest result by a female in a national NASCAR event when she finished 4th in Las Vegas. She made it through the commotion and demonstrated her ability to push past boundaries that most drivers would never encounter. She completed her entire national season in 2012, completing 33 starts and earning 838 points to place 10th in the final. Standings. No woman in the series had a better finish. In addition to earning 2 top 10s, 8th at Texas and 9th at Bristol, she also received a pole. However, the year was filled with collisions, like as the Daytona races and Jacques Villeneuve's incident at Kansas. She was only a marketing hire, according to her detractors. However, her conclusion stated otherwise. She acknowledged that the season was frustrating, but she also claimed that it helped her learn more quickly and got her ready for the Cup Series. In 2012, she also made her Cup Series debut. She competed in 10 races in the number 10 Chevrolet for Stuart Hose. With an average finish of about 30th, she placed 62nd in points. The 10th place finish at Talladega was her best run. There, she became the first female lap leader in a Cup race. Although her debut prepared her for her full-time Cup season in 2013, critics continued to claim that she was overhyped. With 21 top 10 finishes overall, she surpassed Janet Guthrie's record for the most by 2015. Guthrie had 11. However, the negativity persisted despite this achievement. Some said that her opportunities were solely due to sponsorships. She was referred to as a diva by some. She freely discussed how the criticism followed her everywhere and how her achievements were frequently overlooked because people were more interested in her image than in her performance. She continued to drive and open a door that had been shut for generations despite this. Everything reached a new height one day in February 2013. She won the Daytona 500 vote on February 17, making history as the first female winner. Her qualification lap covered the 2.5-mile course in just 45.81 seconds at a speed of 196.434 miles per hour. Knowing that they were seeing history, over 10 million people tuned in. She had the best Daytona 500 finish of any woman, finishing 8th after leading the opening lap. In the past 30 years, her pole speed is still the quickest single-car Daytona 500 pole speed. Then came the 2016 Talladega, a race that demonstrated the true dangers of the sport. Michael McDowell struck her from behind with 8 circuits remaining, causing her to spin and crash into the wall at almost full speed. The vehicle caught fire within the cockpit. She claimed that she thought her hair was burning and that she felt her breath depart her body. She had severe bruises on her arm, foot, and chest. After that, she required X-rays, but no serious injuries were discovered. "It was the worst crash of my career," she said. It served as a reminder to everyone of her true fearlessness. She later discussed the psychological toll her work has taken. She claimed that she felt 20 years behind drivers who grew up in stock cars because of the strain and attention. She claimed to have been exhausted by the 36 Race Cup program. 9 grueling months with only 2 or 3 weekends off. She claimed that NASCAR swallowed everything and likened it to the slower cadence of Indy cars. She eventually became weary of the criticism and the burden of unrelenting demands. She left in 2018 because the happiness had vanished. She claimed that her enjoyment had vanished somewhere along the line and that racing is generally a sad experience. Her candor exposed the aspects of racing that are seldom talked about, the ones hidden under the noise and medals. After 2015, Danica Patrick's story took a gradual decline that was similar to watching a bright light gradually go out. As each season went by, her NASCAR Cup Series performance declined, and by 2016, she had finished 24th with 689 points. With just 500 points from 36 races, she fell to 28th place a year later. She felt more burdened each week. She only managed one top 10 and suffered 11 DNFs, with an average finish of about 23. The outcome sparked hushed conversation in the garage and continued to drive her toward the rear of the pack. Those murmurs were more audible by the end of 2017. The departure with Stewart-Haas Racing was reportedly imminent. She was unable to keep up here, despite having previously created history in IndyCar. The frustration increased with each race until it felt like the only option was to disband the team. That sentiment persisted into 2018. Perhaps a magical moment to end the narrative, she wanted one final chance in the Daytona 500. Instead, Chase Elliott caused her car to be involved in a multi-car crash on lap 101. Knowing that the moment she had pictured was gone, she climbed out of the crash after finishing 35th. Casey Kahn and Kevin Harvick were also taken in the collision. She attempted to find closure with Ed Carpenter racing in the Indy 500 a few months later. She wanted to quit the sport on her own terms and drove the number 13 car. She finished in 33rd place when an engine malfunction forced her to leave early. 2 brutal endings, 2 final races. It demonstrated how anyone, even those who altered the course of racing's history, might turn against it. But even before that, her journey had been fraught with peril. During her first independent car season in Japan in 2005, everything nearly fell apart before it had even begun. In her car, she was exposed to exhaust fumes. She also felt as though her body was no longer hers immediately following the race. She was having trouble breathing. Her chest was constricted. After being taken to the medical center, she was taken to a hospital. She displayed signs of carbon monoxide poisoning, according to the doctors. She was shaken and confused when she woke up, and she couldn't stop thinking about how nearly she lost everything. For years afterward, that event lingered in the backdrop of every triumph she sought. She made an effort to maintain her composure as her NASCAR career came to an end. With 2018, she made her final Cup start with the number 7 vehicle for Premium Motorsports. She finished in 43rd place since the car had trouble from the beginning. Even after 312 Cup starts, people took the time to resurrect the old criticism that she was overhyped. A pioneer was spotted by several. Others observed a driver who was unable to turn notoriety into victories. In the midst of all that chaos, she observed a profession that broke down barriers while still raising doubts. She felt as though her body and mind were exhausted by the age of 36. She was a victim of years of pressure, crashes, and unrelenting expectations. She acknowledged that she was rattled and prepared to go on. After retiring in 2018, she started working in the media. While some applauded her candor and others questioned whether she went too soon, she made the decision to be at peace since she was aware of the weight she was carrying. Equally turbulent was the flow of her private life. 7 years after meeting Paul Hospenthal when she was 21 and recuperating from a racing injury, she married him in 2005. A prenuptial agreement and a pledge to maintain clarity were part of the marriage. Then she announced their divorce in November 2012, the day after she was crowned the most popular driver in the National Series. Irretrievably broken, she said. According to the filing, there were no children or acts of aggression. In April 2013, it was completed. She did not divulge personal information. She just let the shock wash over her and continued. She started dating Ricky Stenhouse Jr. shortly after. They began dating in 2012, and in March 2013, their relationship was made public. Together, they ran. They were in competition with one another. Their 5 years together were filled with both private uncertainty and public smiles. They humorously acted as though they were engaged on April Fool's Day in 2017. However, she later acknowledged that she was prepared for something serious, whereas he wasn't, despite the jest. By December 2017, the split was formally announced. When Stenhouse showed up alone at the NASCAR Cup Series Awards 1 month prior, rumors had already begun to circulate. Both, however, maintained their dignity. Her racing career was coming to an end at the same time that their story ended. Then she started dating Aaron Rodgers. Before she disclosed in 2025 that the relationship had been emotionally abusive, it appeared to be tranquil and lasted from 2018 to 2020. According to her, it was the most agonizing time in her life. She spoke of feeling exhausted, losing her self-esteem, and drifting into a place where she was unfamiliar with herself. The split was abrupt. She was crushed by it. She gradually rebuilt with the aid of therapy. Although Rodgers never addressed the allegations, the disclosures stunned everyone and demonstrated how even the most well-known partnerships may have unspoken suffering. She appeared lighter in 2025. On Instagram, she shared holiday pictures from Burning Man. Nothing explicit or verified, just smiles that suggested a new person had entered her life. Fans began speculating, but she made no denials or confirmations. After years of emotional upheaval, her energy was altered, and she appeared to be moving into a new area. Another hefty coating was added by her health journey. In an attempt to bolster her confidence after racing, she had breast implants in 2014. Rather, by 2018, her body began to behave in ways she was unable to understand. She put on 25 pounds. Her hair grew thinner. She was constantly tired. Her periods started to become erratic. She saw one specialist after another. No doctor was able to fully explain her thyroid problems and heavy metal toxicity. She took as many as 30 tablets every day. She experimented with gut healing. She made every effort, but nothing was successful. Her health continued to deteriorate for 4 years. She was then diagnosed with breast implant disease in 2022 following additional testing. All along, her body had been resisting the implants. Everything was marred by inflammation. She didn't suffer from any ailments. She had a single cause for all of her symptoms. In March 2022, she made the decision to take them off. The difference appeared quickly. Her face appeared healthier in a matter of hours. Her breathing became easier. Her complexion became more radiant. Her weight stabilized and her hair grew back over the following few weeks. Her menstrual cycles resumed their regularity. She reported feeling more lucid than she had in years. Although she currently rates her level of well-being at a 6 out of 10, it felt miraculous in comparison to earlier times. She tells her story to encourage other ladies to pay attention to their bodies if they sense something is off. Her symptoms were so severe before they were removed that she frequently thought she was fighting a deadly illness. Her symptoms included weakness, dizziness, cognitive fog, joint pain, leaky stomach, and adrenal fatigue. There were times when she thought she should visit the hospital. The symptoms brought back memories of that horrible day in 2005 when exhaust fumes poisoned her. She was able to comprehend the extent of the implant's impact on her thanks to that memories. Because BII resembles so many other conditions, her tale demonstrates how perplexing it may be. In December 2024, she experienced additional suffering after being scalded by hot water at Starbucks. She shared pictures of her thighs peeling skin and large blisters online. The agony was persistent and intense. Throughout the healing days, she continued to share updates, displaying the bandages and the anguish of recuperating from something so normal yet so deadly. Her candor sparked a discussion about safety and how commonplace mishaps like that are. She went for a brain scan at Dr. Daniel Eamon's clinic around the same time. She wanted to check for any lasting effects from years of racing. Trauma was evident in the scans. They demonstrated how, even when wearing helmets, the brain moves inside the skull during collisions. She was astonished at the pictures. They clarified her occasional moments of fuzz and memory lapses. She now discusses brain health and works to educate other athletes about the true effects of years of stress on the body.